That's
You
so
look like
terrifying.
you look like you're about to impose some propaganda about eating more chicken.
No, I'm just here to talk about movies.
Oh, good. We got that one this time.
Nice.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure it happened.
Second take is the right one take, right?
That's totally going on TikTok.
Also, whose brand is this? Sour Punch Bites. Please sponsor us. Please. I could eat these while going to sleep.
Fun.
That'd probably be terrible for your teeth.
It's horrible for your teeth, I'm sure. But you should also go to your dentist.
Yes,
However,
you should.
These are amazing.
I've got stories about not going to the dentist.
Yes, you do.
Yes, I do.
Rob learned the hard way.
Top row of my teeth is like 25 grand.
And welcome back to Centerway Societies. Today, we tackle a Back to the Future. I'm your host, Jordan, today, and I've got a couple of guys here with me that are going to listen to some very dark theories about Back to the Future. James has left us, so without further ado, James is one of the guests today.
He got stuck in 18 whatever.
He got stuck in 1885.
1885.
1885. Yep. And then in 1955, with his haircut and his Mr. Rogers' next door neighbor type of attitude, Rob is with us.
I don't know if that's going to be here today or not, man. I'm trying.
He's trying. He's trudging through. He'll be all right. He might get in. And then last but not least, in 1985, because all the cool little skateboards and stuff were coming out and all the sci-fi stuff, we've got Dustin.
Hey, I would like a Pepsi.
I also
and just a
would
Pepsi.
like a Pepsi.
Nice.
Can I get a Pepsi?
I'm really disappointed that the Cubs didn't win the World Series in
2015, but they did it the year after.
You can blame the New York Mets for that.
I know. I'm pissed. Anyway, we got to get kind of going on this because tonight's Ahsoka premiere.
We're recording on a Tuesday.
We are recording on a Tuesday.
How long is this going
to 56 minutes to get it to where we can see Ahsoka premiere. So, without further ado,
$20 says Disney Plus crashes.
It probably will.
Don't you wish that evil on me, Rob?
I know. Anyway, let's get into the first one.
Let's go.
Which is Biff believes that Marty McFly is a time traveler. So the way that this one works is, and there's some evidence to it.
And he is.
There's some evidence to it. So in obviously, Old Man Biff is really about who this goes to in Back to the Future 2. He sees the DeLorean pull up. He's like, oh my God, it's here. He actually, middle-aged Biff sees them go away in it, and he's like, what the hell's going on here? So the theory is that when Marty originally went back in time to 1955 and went to the prom with his mom, Biff gets attacked by or deals with all the stuff with Calvin Klein, gets the manure on him, damages the vehicle, all of that type of stuff. And he's, just way better than Biff is. So he sees him. He knows what he looks like clearly. That's still part of an accurate timeline.
Fast forward, never should have forgotten.
No, but there's another theory on this too, but no one should have ever forgotten what he looked like, right? Because that's still part of the main timeline.
Yeah.
So, come back to present time after George stands up to Biff, which changes the power dynamic there. Biff's no longer an asshole to him. He's, waxing the vehicle for Marty and taking care of the family, but as a car detailer, right?
Yeah.
The theory behind that is that he had no aspirations after high school, no goals, because he was just kind of an asshole.
Yeah.
And so what he ended up doing is he became a car detailer and wanted to stay close to George and Lorraine, more so to see what Marty was doing, kind of spying on him his entire life from this moment. And the reason he's doing that is because he believes he's a time traveler. And then when Old Man Biff in the future, and I think it was, what did they go to, 2015?
Mm-hmm.
They go to 2015. He finds the DeLorean, and that's when he finally gets it. He never sees it again from that moment when he was waxing and he sees them go off. So he gets it, goes back, and then creates a whole separate timeline where he changed the outcome of everything and changed his life for him.
Goes back with the sports almanac.
Exactly. Yeah. So Biff the entire time stays close to the family in the change timeline from where George stands up to him, so he can find out that Marty is a time traveler and get the DeLorean to go time travel.
So so according to this, you think Biff in 1955 thinks that Calvin Klein is a time traveler? Like,
Correct.
I'm just making sure I'm understanding this
So
correctly.
there's a couple of things that go with it. So Calvin Klein, one is, what does Calvin Klein become? Because in 1955, there is no Calvin Klein clothing brand.
Yes.
So Calvin Klein, one, he sees him ride a skateboard in 1955. Once again, no skateboards in 1955.
No.
Yep. He does a few things in that timeline. He references like Darth Vader. He references sci-fi. He references a lot of things that are futuristic things. So as Biff goes from being a teenager to this older, he sees, well, Calvin Klein becomes a company. Skateboarding's in. Star Wars is out. It can't all be this like weird thing that just started happening. Not
So
to
you
mention,
think it more
on,
along
not,
the lines? I'm sorry. I just wanted to clarify.
You-
So like, as the years go by, it all starts to click for him.
exactly.
So that's okay. Okay, I
Yeah.
see where you're going with
And
this
not
now.
to mention, so he, although Biff was knocked out during the song he plays, which is Johnny Be Good, there would be people talking about it
Mm-hmm.
and like, oh, this song's so different. And then a few years later, the song's released, right? By Chuck
Yeah.
Berry. So then his classmates would have been like, that's weird. That one guy, Calvin Klein, played that song. Because once again, you can't erase the timeline of things that happened there. They still
Yeah.
happened for that timeline. So they would have had, oh, Chuck Berry released this song, but we heard it played by a white boy years ago.
Yeah.
So it's all these things that would have added up. And then he would have gotten more suspicious of what was going on with Marty, which is why he wanted to stay close to George and Lorraine so he could find out what was going on.
Now, I think on a personal note, I think he's too dumb to put that all together.
Well,
But
think about old Biff though.
well, it took him like 30 years
he
just to
sees
like
the
put it together.
DeLorean. He sees the DeLorean. He has an actual. He's like, you know what I mean?
But you do realize that, like, unless he figured that out earlier, right? And somehow somebody can confirm this or something. It took him 60 years to figure it out. Literally seeing
I mean,
the DeLorean
he's
in
in it. He's in it for the
2015.
long game, But
Okay.
technically, that would still be a time loop because that entire situation of him finding as an old man, going back and doing all that, creating the alternate timeline, that would all be looping the entire time, no matter what,
Yeah.
continuously going on.
Can I go on a little tangent here just about the
timeline?
85 thing?
Go ahead.
Okay. So Doc Brown spends the entire movie talking about not fucking with the timeline.
Mhm.
And then at the end of the movie just shows up in a fucking flying car. It just out in the middle of the road and flies off. Like Biff sees it, of course, because
Yep.
why the fuck wouldn't he?
Yep.
And they just take the girlfriend and just
Well, because
leave her
Marty,
out
it's your kids.
Yes. I mean,
got
it's a great
sidebar.
setup to the second
Sidebar.
movie, but
So I've been thinking while we've been talking about this, do you think George thought Lorraine cheated on him with Calvin Klein at some point because of Marty? Because he ends up looking just like Calvin Klein?
So
The
I'm gonna get into that, but
fuck?
no. I would, if you're basing it off of that because he looked like Calvin Klein, no. And I have a theory about that too that we'll get into.
Because
Oh,
every
Lord.
member of his family looks like him or his
Yeah,
mother.
or the 2015 version of them, or the 1955 version of them, or the 1885 version of them. 'Cause
Yeah,
they use all the same characters going through time. So
they really do.
that's that's why they was so good, man. It was like relatable people. You're like, oh, they're just playing this person now that was 100 years before this person.
You know why the third one never took off?
Why?
What?
Because his great grandmother didn't try and bang him in that one too. That's all it is, dude.
That's gonna get dark in a second when we go over it. So not that
Oh, no.
specifically, but Lorraine. Anyway,
Okay.
we're on to theory 2, which
All right.
is Doc Brown kills alternate Marty on purpose. So Doc Brown sends Marty back in the DeLorean. There's 2 Martys, correct?
Yeah.
At this point. because it becomes a loop where Marty can see himself and they run into themselves. Remember? So the theory is that to save a paradox from happening, Doc Brown sends Marty back in the DeLorean, the alternate Marty back in the DeLorean, to purposely kill him. Isn't that kind of dark?
Wait,
Yeah.
hold on.
He kills
Yeah.
that timeline Marty.
Are you talking about in
And Back to the Future 2.
2?
Yep.
Yeah, but he goes back to 1985.
There's
Okay,
two Martys.
So there's
let him
two Martys.
let him cook,
Let him
Rob.
cook. There's
Let
two
him cook.
Martys. Yes.
Okay.
They run the risk of seeing each other as one of the issues when he goes back and there's the alternate 1955 and stuff like that.
Yes, but that's
And
why
it's
the second
continuously.
Marty
Yep.
like
But to-
spends the
but to-
entire time in 1955 avoiding the other Marty.
Right. But there's a point where they could converge because that's a new time loop. So the time loop with the alternate Marty, he puts him in the DeLorean and sends him off. The theory is that he puts him in the DeLorean for when he gets back or wherever he's going for it to implode and kill him.
Yes, but that Doc that he ends like the other Marty met after he sent him in the DeLorean
This is
did
the
not
issue with
know that there was this. This is why I hate time travel shows.
time travel movies are
why
hard.
I hate time travel movies.
Yep.
I hate this because it's
They
just going
are.
to drive me absolutely.
It's always going to be in an alternate timeline or a loop.
See, I
Because-
feel like this got explored in fucking Rick and Morty or something, you know?
Right. But yeah, so that's the theory, is that he was trying to avoid a paradox happening. He purposely sent that Marty
but
to
that's
be killed.
that
It
second
was like
that
for all
that Doc Brown did
intentions
not know about
time.
the second Marty until the other Marty showed up. So
I'm just telling you what the theory is.
I know. I'm just telling you what I
What do you
think.
feel? What about you? What about you, James? What are you thinking about that one?
I got a whole lot going through my head. So
He's still confused about the first theory.
no, I'm on the I don't ever remember him sending a Marty to their like they
James
never
is like,
did meet.
am I Calvin Klein? What?
No,
He said
like,
me?
I'm trying to remember the movies. I don't ever remember them meeting. So
No.
is
They
there-
don't actually
Uh-uh.
end up meeting. That's
They're in the
okay.
same place
No.
at the same time.
Same place, same time, to prevent the paradox of them meeting happen. And there's a, remember, in the new timeline, there's a loop of that happening, of two
Okay.
Martys existing in the same
Yeah.
place.
So
That's-
Marty McFly 1 is what we're gonna call Back to
Sure.
the Future 1.
Back to the
Marty.
Future 1.
Back to the
Yep.
Future 2 we'll call McFly 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he sends McFly 2 back and then tries to kill McFly 1.
No, he sent Marty
is he-
McFly 1, just like at the end of Back to the Future 1. But
Yeah.
then right after that moment, Marty McFly 2 comes running down the street to
Yes.
explain what had happened and why he was back.
Yes.
So Marty McFly 1 should still be alive.
Should, or
Should.
Doc Brown is a murderer because he kills alternate Marty.
It's Christopher Lloyd. Is he really that bad of a human being?
So which
I
one are we
mean, to be
calling
fair-
alternate Marty is what I'm getting at. Is
It would
Marty
be
1 or
it
Marty
would
2?
be Marty 1 would be the alternate at that point.
But
So
then
how-
Marty 2 wouldn't exist because Marty 1 is dead. Because that's the past Marty.
Different
Is that-
different loop. They're different
No,
loops. Yes.
because that Marty was supposed
It's a different timeline at this point. You can't, it's not this anymore. Remember, it branches off and does different things.
Yes, but it's following that path.
There's a
Marty
lot
1
of,
is
there's a lot of
following
stuff
the
like this.
path where Marty 2 is currently on.
I'm just telling
He's
you, man.
just
I know. Trust me. Some of these are annoying too.
We
Why
could
did
we
we
could
pick
end
this
the
movie?
loop
We could-
right here
Right.
with one Marty, one bullet.
I hate time travel.
One Marty, one gun.
Yeah,
I just can't. Yeah, this is a key for me.
it's a
I
key.
don't. That's not.
Yeah,
a
just
key.
in my brain. I mean, it may not be
I don't
key.
think
It just
that's-
doesn't
Wait, hold
make-
on, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on.
Can we
If this,
define
hold
a
on.
key
If this is a key to you, what are the theories that you believe in as keys that you bring up to us? What are those? Because now I'm hurting.
There's all I believe in all sorts of keys. I'm not saying I don't
He's like,
believe it. I'm just
there's a
saying it's
skeleton
just
key,
it's
there's a house key, there's a garage
there's
key,
Yeah,
I'm
there's
just
a
saying
key
this
for your
one is
kitchen,
like
key.
there's a
it's
shed key.
this
Yeah.
one's more of a tough for me to
have a
understand key, I
padlock
guess would be the
key.
best way to put it.
There's a key to my storage unit.
It's where I keep all the other keys.
This is an electronic smart key.
Some keys I don't even know what they go to.
Yeah, and this is a
Yeah.
key fob.
This
No,
key,
it's
we
just
don't
like-
know what it goes to. It's
Okay,
just-
okay,
Yeah,
okay.
that's what we'll. That's
a
what
key
I'll
that
call it.
exists.
This one is harder to wrap your head around because it's
Yeah.
like it's the time loop thing really fucks like with it a lot, and it literally confused me when I was reading about it too.
It's a
But it-
future key that goes to something in the future that we don't know yet what it is.
But it kills the pass key.
Yes.
But how does he know that he's killing the pass key? Is my thing.
Can we move
Like, how
on?
does he
No,
know
no.
to kill the pass key?
Because he's dealing with Marty McFly
'Cause-
too.
So
yeah,
so,
but he hasn't done
so
Marty.
hold on. So
he already
side-
said Marty McFly won.
So hold on. Side note to that is there's an overarching theory when
I
it
hate
comes
time
to
travel.
Doc Brown, which is overall Doc Brown is actually the Time Lord in the universe.
So he's the doctor.
He exactly, literally, there's a theory
Ah.
for that he is a Doctor Who-esque type character.
Gotcha. Okay.
Well, he
No.
is a doctor.
Wait, is this one of your theories, or are you just
No.
throwing this
It's,
out there?
that is a theory. I'm not going to get into it because it was way convoluted
He
for me.
spends like half the fucking movie not believing. Well, not half the movie, but
No,
like there's so many points in the story where he's like, "This is
he
fucking
said
possible."
hold on. He's already said he's gone to the future. He ends up in 1885, 1955, 1985, 2015, and then he's gone past 2015 because he said
See-
he's been past the future.
So you're saying after
That-
the first initial, like he lives through this and starts time traveling, at that point in time, he becomes like a time lord.
Yes, that was like how the
Okay.
theory went. Yeah,
Okay,
Yep.
I buy it.
Yep.
He
It's-
is prepared. He's got like briefcases full of money from different time periods, and
that's all I'm saying.
this is a fun discussion.
It is.
Just
episode.
instead of a phone booth, he has a train.
He has a DeLorean, and then a train. Really, he has the flux capacitor.
Do you think
Come
he
on.
like goes throughout time and picks up like
Rob, you
different
can't
Marty
you can't always
McFlys and stuff
always
and,
get
like,
1.21 gigawatts. Okay,
Okay.
1.21 gigawatts just didn't exist in 1885. Sorry, he had to use a train. Anyway,
I can't wait for next week.
getting back to did George McFly think that Lorraine cheated on him? So
Yeah.
the reason I can't say yes to what you were saying there, James, is because there's another theory that plays into it, which is George McFly, not Lorraine, only George McFly. George McFly knows his son is a time traveler, and he allows Marty to do it for the benefit of the family.
At what point?
No, what supports that? Yeah.
So
At what-
once again, it goes into Calvin Klein shows up. All the evidence with the Calvin Klein becomes a brand. He helps him take down Biff, which changes his dynamic as a human. And it changes him from this like beaten down old man in the future that is kind of quirky, kind of lame, and gets torturized by Biff. Goes to the song Johnny Be Good, goes to the reference mainly, and this is why I said there's Star Wars in this one for you, James, the Darth Vader aspect of it. We know George McFly was a huge sci-fi buff. So when Darth Vader's name is put out into 1955, and then in the late 70s, a movie is released with Darth Vader in it, and Calvin Klein was Darth Vader in this, because that's what he disguised himself as.
Mm-hmm.
That's his biggest clue as
So
his son is a time
basically,
traveler.
this George McFly theory is the same as the Biff theory.
But Biff follows the family because he doesn't know that he's a time traveler. It's different. George knows his son is a time traveler and allows it to happen because what happens is it changes the parallel of the family.
He wouldn't know that he's a time traveler till later on, though.
Till later on. But it's like one of those he knows but he's not saying it type of thing.
So
Like
basically,
he knows
by
his son does this.
the
George
time of
is
the
smarter,
original.
too.
Say that again.
Okay.
Hold on. What did James say?
I would say George is smarter than Biff too.
Exactly. He's smart. He's a sci-fi nut. So when you say Darth Vader to him in 1955 and he sees a movie 25 years later.
The Darth Vader thing, I get that, right?
Yep.
But Calvin Klein is just a dude's name, you know?
It's also becomes one of the biggest clothing brands in the world.
It is, but it's not like you said like Google or like something a little bit more distinctive, you know? Like I don't know.
To be
It would
fair,
be
Google.
like
Hold on.
I'm using the name Michael Jordan,
Here's
and
the
then
crazy.
like,
Here's the
oh
crazy
my
part of that.
god, he's a
Hold on.
famous
Think about
sports
this.
ball player.
1885, Google didn't even exist.
What?
It didn't. 1885 or 1985 didn't
Jordan
exist.
got drafted in '86, I think.
He 84.
Was it '84?
84.
He was
But-
drafted in '84.
I'm like 99% sure it was 84. Yes. 99%. Go ahead and Google.
I'm going to.
Go
But-
ahead. But go ahead.
I mean, and it is all over the underwear band too. So like it would be like if he sees like a pair of that was Lorraine who saw him.
Yeah, his mom sees that his underwear read Calvin Klein.
Yeah,
right, and
that's
then assumes that's his name because it's
Yeah.
all over his
It's all over.
underwear.
Which
Huh.
I guess in the 50s that was a thing of parents just writing your name on your underwear in case somebody else tried to take it, I guess.
Hmm.
I don't know. I don't know about that one.
Maybe. I don't
Maybe.
fucking. I mean,
What,
I
hold on, Rob.
Hmm.
Rob. What year was it?
1984. I didn't say you were wrong.
I know. I feel good because
I thought it was '86 though.
you feel vindicated.
I do.
Yeah.
I'm a very big Michael
Because
Jordan fan.
he really didn't come into. How are you a Knicks fan and you still like Michael Jordan?
I'm not a Knicks fan.
I
I'm a
thought you were a
Chicago
Knicks fan.
I'm a Chicago Bulls fan, brother. Chicago Bulls all the way.
Your
I've never been.
sports
I've never been.
allegiances makes no
I've
sense
never.
to me.
No. I've never been a Knicks fan. I'll watch the Knicks because they're New York related, but I honestly don't really follow basketball that way. I'd rather go back and watch Michael Jordan games. Honestly, I loved Michael Jordan.
Okay,
But anyway, outside of that, so
continue on.
but yeah, so it's like an unwritten. It's like like he's not going to mention it to Marty that he knows he's a time traveler, but he also like picked up on it happening and sees that their lives are better for the sake of it. He's kind of taking advantage of his son being a time traveler without actually being like, I need you to do this.
So I buy this a little bit more than I buy the Biff thing, but I also don't feel like there's anything visually to support that, like throughout the movies. It like between the two of them, he would make more sense to have picked up on it, though.
Well, think about like the George that is, ruled by Biff. He's a shell of a man.
Yeah.
But think about the George that is bossing Biff. Did you get that second coat of wax? Like he's that dude right there is a whole different dynamic of character. So I don't know.
You're saying that like his self-confidence basically came from knowing that his son was altering history to be in their favor?
To a degree, yes.
Mind fucking blown.
Yep. Think about it. Calvin Klein gives him the confidence in 1955. And then that's the only time. There's literally a part, and this also goes to another theory. Not going to go into that one too much, but there's a scene where remember how you said that Doc Brown the entire time was like, "We can't change things, Marty." No, even
and then just absolutely says, "Fuck it."
Even if you change something in the past for the good, it could have different impacts in the future. That whole part, he changes the way he thinks about things because he said, my dad finally stood up to Biff for the first time ever. And then there's the scene right there when that happens. He's like literally like, and then his brother and his sister come back in the photo and he's like, oh, things you do in the past can have a positive outcome in the future. It kind of changes Doc's mind then. And that's when he changes the aspect of he's not worried about changing things in the past as much.
Right.
Just a quick question. I'm sorry, sidebar real quick.
Yeah.
How old is Marty in 1985?
Well, he's in high school. I imagine he's a senior. So he'd have to be 17.
Yeah.
17, 18. Definitely not that age as Michael J. Fox.
You know what's funny though? If he is 17 years old, it meant that he would have been born in 1968. Math is correct on that, right? 1985 to 1968, that's 17 years.
Yeah, that would be, yeah.
You know what was created in 1968?
What was created in 1968?
The Calvin Klein Company.
Bada bing.
What
How hilarious is that? Bada bing.
Man, they put a lot of hidden shit in this.
That's pretty cool. That's
Yeah.
that's a cool little fact there, Rob.
No,
Look at
I
that.
was I was
Look at
looking.
that. He wasn't even interested in the beginning, and now he's all into it.
No,
I
when I
know.
was looking up when Michael Jordan was drafted, I also decided to look when was Calvin Klein created.
That's kind of cool. So
1968.
the year that he was born,
Yeah, in theory,
in theory. Well,
if he
I mean,
was
that would
17.
1885. He has to be 17 or 18, so it has to be
Yeah.
around that time.
Isn't it a little surprising though that like with the amount that Calvin Klein, helped them in their life, they didn't name their son Calvin
Klein.
or something.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't come back and he's like, "Oh, my name's Marty," and they're like, "Calvin, what are you talking about?"
Right.
Fuck.
Yeah, right.
Hey guys, this is Rob, the Centerway Society. The following theory does contain sensitive topics pertaining to domestic violence and sexual assault. If you find this particular subject matter to be a little too much, then we recommend going to the 32nd minute mark for our final theory. We apologize if this does trigger any bad feelings or memories. We hope that this will be taken in the spirit that it was meant in discussing fan theories surrounding the film. Thank you very much for listening.
Now this next one's gonna go really dark.
Oh God.
And I'm sorry for it, but it's an interesting theory that I think has more, like, you can see it on screen. And honest to God, if like the directors and writers ever came out and said that this was not true, I would literally say they're lying, because you can see it visually. So in all of the timelines for 1955, alternate, current, actual timeline, Lorraine is sexually assaulted by Biff.
Oh yeah, man.
Yeah.
May not be at the prom, but it's somewhere it happens. There's many scenes where he's always like, "Oh, you want me? I know you want me." And he's like grabbing on her at lunch. There's the car scene. So Lorraine's actual like psyche and stuff, it changes her character. So to get into this, we're not going to talk about yet where George stands up to Biff. Okay. This is every scene where George does not do that. The reason she ends up with George is because he is the exact opposite of Biff. She knows he's comfortability.
He's safe.
He's safe. He's never going to lay a hand on her. He's not aggressive. His character is completely different than Biff. So she's safe around him. Lorraine, if you look at it, there's two things that one show into it. All of her drinking and cigarette smoking in the original timeline. All of the drinking and cigarette smoking is one that shows it, because she's not who herself was 30 years ago at all. Which, granted, that could just be time too, right? Where time goes on and you change as a person. But this is stemmed back from when she was assaulted by Biff. Now, another thing is, think about how much she hates Marty's girlfriend. Any girl that chases a man, think about how like mad and upset she gets about this. That's because she chased a man in her past,
Right.
and
Yeah.
she was his girlfriend essentially 30 years ago. Like,
yeah, because she's like condemning the daughter and stuff.
She's condemned.
Yeah.
Yep.
Uh,
And it all stems back to her assault from Biff. Now, think about new timeline where Lorraine and where Biff is the under dynamic from George. George stood up to him. He took care of Biff. Lorraine doesn't get assaulted in the car at prom.
Yeah.
Think about the Lorraine they show when that happens. She's kind of like, I don't want to use the word perky, but she's like, high energy. She's happy about life. Completely different character. So the theory with this is that Lorraine, at some point, whether it be the car or another area, and all the timelines where George does not stand up to Biff, she is sexually assaulted by Biff, and it ruins her confidence. It messes her up as a person into the future for this show. It's really dark, man. It really is. And it's sad because you can actually see the evidence on the screen of this one.
Well, I mean, just imagine or look at her during the lunch scene. The way
how uncomfortable
she crumples up. Yeah.
Yep. Now think about this scene.
I can really see it actually.
There's the scene where it's early on in the first movie where Biff wrecks the car, right? And he's like, "Oh, you spilled, I should be mad at you. I spilled yak all over myself." You didn't tell me you had a blind spot. And he's like, well, there wasn't a blind spot when I was driving it. You know, the whole George. So there's a scene where Marty's sitting there. Marty's pissed off because he was supposed to be using that car to take it's Jennifer, right? To take Jennifer, his girlfriend, to wherever.
Yeah, I believe. Yeah, that's her name, right?
Yep. I was drawing a blank, and then I was like, I'm pretty sure it's Jennifer Bouse. I don't want to be wrong. So he was going to take her in that car, and he's upset. And there's a scene where Biff pulls a beer out of the refrigerator, and he's like, light beer. I come over here and I get your car towed here, and all you have for me is light beer. And then so George goes off, and then there's a really sick scene if you really think about it. Now we're thinking about the Lorraine assault stuff, which is he looks at Marty and says, how's your mother doing? Knowing that this person 30 years ago was assaulting her.
That's fucking gross, dude.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, because like the way it plays out in the scene is supposed to.
It's supposed to be like he's like, hey, how's your mother?
Yeah,
doing?
like I've always wanted to hook up with your mom, but
he was actually doing things that ruined her as a person.
That's really insidious, like in that context,
super,
man.
super dark, man. Like I said, I wanted to go in this having fun theories. This one was a very interesting one that I feel like no one ever thinks about, no one ever talks about. I found it. I can't remember what the guy's name is. I'll have to credit him in the YouTube or whatever. But it was on Reddit, and he talked about it, and I was like, oh my god, like that's a huge like character development theory for this entire movie franchise.
Well,
shit. What do you think about that, Rob?
That's all very disturbing.
Right?
Please tell me you got a palate cleanser after that one.
I thought this was supposed to be a lighthearted summer blockbuster fun stuff.
It is not,
and the
man.
second
There's
one, they
no
all go out for
theories.
ice cream.
There's no happy theories, really. Like the Biff knows Marty time travels, and then the George knows his son does it. Those are, nobody really cares. You know, like they're not happy. They're not
That's
sad.
as good as it gets.
Doc Brown killing alternate Marty, Lorraine's sexual assault. And then the last one that I have,
oh god,
is that Marty actually dies in Back to the Future 2.
At what point?
So the theory goes that when they're in the tunnel and he's trying to escape Biff, right? And it goes to the scene where Doc Brown, releases the like flag looking rope, and then he grabs it and pulls him up with the DeLorean, right? So the theory goes that actually Biff like kills him. He hits him, runs over him, kills him with the car. But what happens on the back end, because one, Doc Brown didn't know where Marty McFly was. He didn't know Marty McFly was in danger. He wouldn't know where Marty McFly was to drop the rope at the exact place and exact time he would need. So Doc Brown finds out Marty's killed in this timeline. In this one would have been in 1955 when he's chasing the almanac. So what happens is Doc Brown goes back and time travels back
through this multiple times.
He's time traveled back to the moment to where it happens, so he knows exactly where to drop the rope for Marty.
Marty 2.5 now.
Oh, fuck, Jordan.
I know. Yeah.
So this is a third Doc Brown.
Well, this is Doc Brown saving Marty, not killing him. He saves Marty.
No, what I'm saying is at this point, this is the third Doc Brown that exists in this timeline.
Yeah, there's, like I said, there's a reason why there's a Time Lord theory behind him, because of
Doc
this.
Brown is like on like Back to the Future like 9 already, and he's been going back through it like, damn it, Marty, stay alive this time again.
So that means the Doc Brown from number 2 is still out there somewhere, and Doc Brown 3 is Doc Brown 2.5.
No, Doc Brown at this point is just walking in and fucking blowing other Doc Brown's brains out, because he's like, we can't both exist at the same time.
He would have to kill the paradox, right?
Yeah, he is a cold-blooded killer at this point.
He's murdering himself, but saving Marty, and then murdering alternate Marty.
Have y'all ever seen Taxi? The TV show?
Yes. Oh, so I thought you meant De Niro. Sorry.
Look, the taxi that I saw was an After Hours one on HBO. Okay, baby.
No, so Christopher Lloyd plays a character called I want to say Jim.
Yeah, this is the Andy Kaufman show.
Yeah. I can
Yeah.
see that character becoming Doc Brown and just going off and
You know what
killing
this
people.
reminds me of? It reminds me of what's that movie with Christian Bale and Hugh Jackman?
The Prestige.
The
Yeah.
Prestige, where he has to kill himself every single time.
Or like you could also say that for Identity, where
Yeah.
he's killing his like personalities.
Yeah.
And on the Weeby side,
With
of
John
shit,
Cusack.
ReZero.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
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 John Cusack, exactly. Yeah, good movie.
So-
Really good movie.
Jordan, I'm not gonna lie, this episode has
Has been
completely bummed me
depressing.
out.
Yeah,
Why
it
I
should.
did you
fucking
do
love
this
it.
to me?
This shit is
You
awesome.
should enjoy the
We're gonna need a
theories.
trigger warning though for right before the
Yes, there's going to
the
be a
Lorraine
trigger
one,
warning
yeah.
because the whole essay with Lorraine, it's a hard topic to talk about, but
Yeah.
it is a topic that I don't think people really think about when they watch these movies,
No.
and it is a bummer. Definitely a bummer.
Well, in the
But-
happy fun time of watching Back to the Future, I never thought I'd have to. Like, in all
Right.
honesty.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's rough, man. It is, but it
John Williams
I-
music and
John Williams music, the 1985 Happy Go Lucky movie.
yeah.
Caitlin's laughing at me again.
She should be.
Because you look
cozy.
suave as
You
fuck.
look cozy and suave.
He
Yeah.
just needs his cardigan, Caitlin.
Yeah.
It is a little cold in my house right now.
Go grab that cardigan, Rob.
the
Come on.
cardigan.
It's a wonderful day
Come
in
on.
the neighborhood.
This is
Now-
a
now-
this is a visual medium now.
Yeah.
Go
Now,
come on.
as far as the theories go on this, that's where I kind of drew the line. I wanted to end with enough to see Ahsoka tonight. Did anybody else have any theories?
No, I'm
for
done.
this?
I'm done.
You're
with
done.
this.
James,
This
did you
is
because this is
No.
going to be the
It's
first, honestly
so
going to be the first
sad.
time I think that you didn't look up theories for someone else's thing too before.
Do you want to talk about the almanac?
Talk
thing?
about no, go ahead and do it, Dustin, because you brought it up.
Okay. Well,
And
Okay.
I just want to preface this first. We talked in the Discord for like 2 minutes before we got on here, and there was something Dustin thought about when he rewatched it
uh-huh.
that is legitimately, he didn't look up theories for this. It is a theory, and he already like thought of it himself without looking it up, which I thought was like the coolest thing in the world. So go ahead.
Thank
buddy.
you, Jordan.
Yeah.
Well, I'm watching through it and I'm like, when Biff gets the almanac, it should become irrelevant after the first bet that he places, right? Because he places a bet and then butterfly effect happens and then time starts changing. But he would have to work like the photo, right? Because I'm not saying it's the most consistent thing in the world, but the future changes, also the photo changes, right? So the almanac becomes this perfect like record of history that always continuously changes every time the future changes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think he would just have to make enough bets to make the money he needed to make. Because at that point, if you are making that many bets to where you are always accurate, like betting authorities, Vegas, any booking,
Well, remember this is 1955 though.
yeah, it's worse because the mob doesn't care if it will break your knees.
He becomes the mob. He has the mob in his
Yes.
hands.
Right. And they actually even
Yes.
do cover this too. He gets
Yeah.
rich enough to where he changes betting laws
Yeah.
So I'm
and
just
ends
saying
up
that
owning
you
the
would,
police.
that you would
Yeah.
think after a long enough period of time, people would notice that he always seems to be
Right.
right, and no
But
one's going to ask questions about it.
He still has to make enough bets. And what Dustin is saying is the moment he made that first bet,
Yeah.
that book should have changed because the entire timeline changes. That
Yes.
book should
Right.
have either become irrelevant or it has to change with what's going on. And that's actually a legitimate theory that like people have talked about, that the book is a truly perfect mechanism into the show and the timeline, because what'll happen is if he places that bet, that whole book should have become irrelevant. It should not
Right.
have been able to predict anything in the future. But the book changes as the bets are placed in the future. So like if USC was supposed to beat UCLA by 79-30, now once he places the bet of that first one, it could be UCLA beating USC, and the book automatically updates that.
Right. Because the book will always in the future be an almanac of previous, events in sports history.
But
Right.
they should
Yeah.
change from what they would have been originally.
Right. It's a perfect record.
So
Yeah.
the book is changing.
The book is
That's
an-
time.
Every
the
time.
book
Yeah.
is essentially a sentient being. It's changing as things go,
That's disturbing.
I don't know about sentient, but
essentially.
yeah.
Okay. I mean, that's a cool thought, and it would make sense.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
But he thought about that just like
all by
watching
his
through.
lonesome.
Yeah, and
He's
then he
so
was like,
smart.
he starts telling me, and I'm
Thank you,
literally,
Rob.
I'm like sitting here, and I'm like, motherfucker, did you read theories? Because like that's like number 6.
Damn.
Dustin,
y'all
you're
making
my
people-
favorite pod son.
I'm just gonna retire right now. I can't get
Just
any happier.
So wait, refresh my memory. When did George McFly's book come out?
Oh,
Oh, I don't know.
He
I mean, he was
released
just
it
getting
probably
the
around.
copies in
yeah,
1985.
he would have been like 1984 or 1985 then,
I got a theory.
depending on the way the months fell. You know, like
Hit us with
go ahead, hit it.
James.
I
You
got
won't
a
hit us
theory.
with a theory. I
Oh,
think
no.
you're too
Yeah, I got one.
chicken.
Do you
I've
have
so-
a? All
right, in the future, right? In the future, Marty's not that rich. Like his house is going bad and stuff like that. He's having issues with all this stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
then George rolls up upside down, and it's probably like one of the. So my theory is George McFly got sued by LucasArts for using Darth Vader's name without permission.
Oh, and when he's like old George,
Yeah,
upside down George,
upside down George.
upside down George.
Ooh.
Huh.
You think so?
I mean,
But
Probably.
You would think that
hold
he
on,
would come to Marty's rescue a lot, though. And
hold on,
after
you-
Marty's accident,
that's a separate timeline from the main timeline though, because this is you gotta remember that's when Marty has the accident with Flea. Well, his name's not actually Flea in the
Yeah.
movie, but
But
he
he-
plays him as a character. But
that's-
in the third movie, Marty doesn't do the race with that character, and he avoids the accident because he never goes, and then Flea almost
Wait.
gets the accident.
When did we say the first book came out, or did we ever?
it came out in 1985. It comes out at the end of movie one, though.
He's getting books, right?
Oh yeah,
He's getting the copies then, so it would have been in 1985.
but he's already rich at that point.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that make sense that he has been publishing
I
books?
mean, he's been publishing books at that point for a while, but
Hold
he
on.
may have just.
What if in this universe
He
George
created
George
Star
Lucas doesn't
Wars?
exist, but there's a George McFly who created it.
Oh shit! Oh shit! Star Wars
George
becomes a
McFly.
paradox.
Oh my God, George
Dude,
McFly created Star
Jordan.
Wars.
He comes back in time, tells him about Star Wars. He creates Star Wars. It's a paradox.
Boom. I can't
And that's
imagine
how we end
ending
this
at a better
episode.
place.
If you like this episode, you can find us over on Facebook at
Fucking
facebook.com/The Society. You could also find us on any of our streaming platforms, whether it's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, or now on YouTube. And also you can find us on TikTok
Where I'm doing my TikTok dances now.
at Centerway.
Renegade.
Well, hold on.
Renegade,
We didn't agree on you
Renegade.
dancing. Like we don't want negative views.
Yeah.
James is going to
Just
be on
use
there doing like thirst trap shit. Like, come on, views, come on.
views. Yeah.
So
Yeah, you want to see my
yeah.
bear?
That's
I
my
am the
for
bear.
you guys.
I am the bear.
And also, we might be having some more news coming out, and you could probably just hear my dog shaking. I don't know why he wanted to do that right at the end of the show, but good job, Nemo. All right. We also have some news coming up. We will be talking about that possibly next week.
Yeah, we're like every local band that's ever existed. Big things coming soon.
Big things coming soon.
That's me tonight.
And this is actually the end of our summer blockbuster series. We do
What's that
appreciate
mean?
everyone that's been. Well, we're done with summer blockbusters. We're moving on
We
to
are.
something else. Next month.
No, he's never mind.
No, I heard. I just want to pass over it. I don't want to stay there.
Honestly, I missed what was said, and I honestly don't care. Next month, we're actually moving on to TV series. I thought that'd be something fun that we can do, and we are starting off with what is one of my favorite shows of all time, and that is The West Wing. So
Hell yeah.
it's going to be a lot of fun. Although there's not a lot of theories out there, so I had to make some up.
We
Anyways,
can just discuss how good it is.
I
It is a
I
really
just
good
want to
show.
talk about how awesome that show was at the
Oh.
very
Yeah.
least.
it's a great show. I love Martin Sheen. Anyways, thank you guys for listening or watching. If you're watching on YouTube, like, share, and subscribe. Let people know we're out there, or don't. We honestly don't care. We're having fun. So we'll see you guys next time. See you next week. Bye.
Peace.
Actually, we'll be back with Ahsoka Reacts.